Oh my, another year, another Steam controversy. I've been thinking about this one a lot this week. Even covered it over on the Sanitarium.fm news update earlier in the week, which you can find a link to that up in the corner right now if you want to get a little bit filled in. But let's talk about the art of stealth, Jim Sterling, Steam, censorship, YouTube DMCA, and outright stupidity. That's a lot to cover, so let's start by laying out the facts. So, Art of Stealth was a game developed by a developer named Matan Cohen and one other member of his team that was available on Steam. This game is no longer available on Steam if you head over to the Steam client and take a look, because Valve removed it. Why did Valve remove it? Because they terminated their business relationship with Mr. Cohen and partners. Why? Because they created other Steam accounts and were forging positive reviews on their game. That's the Steam side of things. Now, for the YouTube side, Jim Sterling, who you may or may not know, he is a YouTube personality, did a video called Art of Stealth, more like Art of Being a Load of Crap. The developers took issue with this and filed a YouTube DMCA against it. The video is still up, and Art of Stealth is no longer on Steam. Alright, those are your basic facts. So, where to begin? Where do we dig into this? Well, first, let me say I'm not here to judge Art of Stealth. For what it is worth, from what I've seen in the videos, it didn't look very good. The deeper concerns here are the attempt to stifle criticism via censorship and the severe misunderstanding of what games journalism and being a games critic is, and how this developer basically cried, "Help, I'm a unique snowflake, stop being mean to me." So, when you are making a game, and I've said this many times before, as soon as you publish something on Steam or any other platform, you immediately open yourself up to criticism. Now, this is the internet in 2017, so a lot of that criticism is going to be, frankly, bullshit. However, you are also opening yourself up to criticism of a more professional nature, or a more nuanced nature, or of a less trolly, salty manner. That's where games critics come in. Sites like IGN, sites like Sanitarium.fm, YouTubers like Total Biscuit, like Jim Sterling, like myself, like other small YouTubers. Games criticism is part of what we do. It's how we let our viewers, the people that are consumers, know what they should be spending their money on and what they may want to avoid. That being said, if you're going to publish a game, you're going to open yourself up to criticisms from all of these sources. And some of it's going to be unnecessary, some of it's going to be wrong, some of it's going to be wrongly vicious, and some of it is not. And anything negative about any project you make is gonna hurt your feelings. There's probably gonna be some negative comments on this video, and I'm gonna be like, well, those are bullshit, that kind of sucks, but it's part of publishing a game, it's part of publishing videos on YouTube. You cannot attempt to stifle negative comments, which they did. The developer would mark comments on their game that were negative reviews as abusive. You cannot do that. That is censorship. It simply does not fly, especially on Steam, where they will take notice, and in this case acted extremely quickly. So let's talk about a couple things that Mr. Cohen said. So, in regards to a comment from website TechRaptor, he said, "Like every beginner in the industry, I have made a few mistakes. One mistake I've made was to release my game too early. When I released my game, it contained some issues, and many players did not like the game, which is a typical thing that happens to many beginners. Yes, this is true. I didn't want to let my customers down, so I promised that a few game updates will come out shortly and fix every single issue with the game." Okay, also fair. However, one of our customers who didn't like the game decided to go much further and asked Jim Sterling to make a negative review about Art of Stealth. I highly doubt this. Jim Sterling did not ask our permission before doing his review. He simply uploaded his video and called it Art of Stealth, more like Art of Being a Load of Crap. This mocking title and the video imply that he simply wants to finish off my career before it even started. At that point, things went out of control. He's also stated that Sterling wrongly assessed his game, that he didn't play through all of the game, and wasn't able to therefore accurately judge it. And would also say he also said, I would expect a famous journalist like Jim Sterling to be professional and not to use false rumors as an axiom for throwing mud on me and damage my reputation. First off, that's not a correct use of the word axiom, and I would not consider the stated opinion of one man in a YouTube video a general truth, which is actually what an axiom is. No, he was simply doing a video stating his opinion. But moving on. The video that Jim Sterling did was part of a series called Jimpressions. It's a First Impressions series. If you watch my channel, you're very, very familiar with First Impressions. Completely aside from that, when you're playing a game, the first 10 to 15 minutes are going to make or break the experience for you. If the first 15 minutes of a game are terrible, you're not likely to continue playing it. Especially these days when you have the refund policy on Steam, where if you don't go over a certain amount of time, you can get a refund as long as you haven't been abusing the system. So while I see the point, in a way, of saying, well, you didn't experience the entire game, from having watched Jim's video and reading other comments, if the first 15 minutes of your game are terrible, why do you expect me to experience the rest of it? It's the point of the First Impressions. Now, another little thing here. The DMCA takedown. They said they were currently talking with YouTube support about the issue. That Jim Sterling has no respect to software engineers who learn programming in universities for 5 years and work hard to create a game. That Jim has no self-respect. I'm not even commenting on that. He's going against YouTube rules and trying to damage a small team, which is new in the industry. He's a pathetic bully. I don't believe that for a second, but that's on a personal basis. And Jim Sterling calls our work a load of crap. He doesn't respect our attempts to make a good game, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Personal attacks are probably not a good thing to descend to, but interesting to me is linked in this article is a link to Google+, yes, Google+, a Google Plus page for YouTube creators about making game videos. It says, we know we have a lot of partners who want and love to post videos relating to games, so we want to share some tips to help you monetize gaming content. And it tells you to do a variety of things, get written permission, check the game publisher's license agreement, etc., etc. There's a problem here in that this post was made on May 13th, 2013. The way that YouTube handles claims, the way that YouTube handles gaming videos has changed significantly. If you're going to resort to something like this, you should do your research and not go back to a post from 4 years ago. That's not really a good way to build a case. So it may seem like I'm spending a lot of time ragging on this developer, and it may come across that way. It's not necessarily the intent, but it is important to point out that if you had a checklist of things you could have done wrong in this situation, these guys ticked every one of them. They made a game that clearly looks like it's subpar. They flagged abusive comment or negative comments as abusive. They got up in arms when a relatively well-known YouTuber made a video of the game and trashed it, which is his prerogative and his opinion, and then they forged positive reviews and got their game taken down. Kudos to Steam for handling this as well as it did, but this entire situation is anti-consumer on the developer's part. Every single action they took was predicated on the idea of deceiving their customers, allowing themselves to sell their game and make more money by selling a product that pretty much everybody in the Steam page agreed was substandard. When they were criticized or received negative feedback, they did everything in their power to silence that voice of criticism, and eventually resorted to violating the terms of service of the platform that they published that self-same game on. It boggles my mind to think that any reasonable person could think that these actions are in any way, shape, or form acceptable or okay, and that they're going to be allowed to continue to do business on Steam and publish games. I simply cannot fathom the thought process. Maybe it was rage, maybe it was heat of the moment thinking, but I would hope that if you're intelligent enough to finish school to program games, you would have some grounds for knowing what you should and shouldn't do. The reasons that they give also are specious. talking about how they don't respect your attempts to make a good game, how they have no respect for software engineers who learned programming in university for 5 years and work hard to create a good game. You don't have to have a full understanding of the inner workings of a product in order to be able to criticize it. I don't have a damn clue how the inside of my microwave works, but if it doesn't pop popcorn right, I'm sure as hell going to raise a fuss about it because it's not working right. It's the same thing with a video game. This whole thing is just ridiculous, and I'm glad that Steam called them on the carpet for it, but this raises serious concerns about YouTube. If YouTube had complied with a DMCA takedown, I mean, that would be a major blow for gaming on YouTube. Thankfully they didn't, but it's this kind of thing and these kind of developers, and what if this happened with a larger developer like EA or DICE or Activision or Bungie or Microsoft or Square? Well, it does happen with Square Enix and Nintendo all the time actually, but that's a completely different thing, Japanese developers. Any kind of precedent that would be set by this kind of thing actually being allowed to succeed is worrying, and that's why I'm glad Steam did something, and I'm glad that the community was as outspoken as it was, because much like the digital homicide feud from last year, it is our job as gamers, as YouTubers, as consumers to strike back at this kind of thing and tell these people that no, you're not going to get our money, we're going to vote with our wallets, and if you're going to resort to tactics this despicable and this deplorable, no, you're not going to get any money from me. Alright guys, that's just been a little bit of my opinion on this entire thing. It's all ridiculous, stupid. One of the most spectacular forms of committing corporate suicide I've ever seen, but nonetheless, concerning that somebody would act this way and think that they could get away with it. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll see you next time.